today I'm going to be reviewing the movie Paprika. Paprika is this crazy Japanese anime all about dreams. And as far as movies about dreams go, let's just say Inception has got nothing on this movie. This movie, in this movie, the dreams are entered, absorbed, and eventually leaked into reality. It's really strange, kind of like Inception, but nowhere near it in weirdness or complexity and mind blowingness. And so basically, we have this device invented by this fat guy named Dr. Tokita, and it's called a DC Mini. I don't know why. And basically, what this DC Mini does is it allows you to enter into dreams, to like record it and kind of analyze it, but it's not complete yet. And the purpose of this DC Mini is for psychotherapy, for dream analysis. And we get an example of how this may look in the very beginning of the movie. It opens up in this strange dream. And just before I get into that, I'm just gonna say is an anime movie about dreams that I say is weird is you're gonna expect a lot of strains and crazy visuals that are enhanced and possible to be seen only through animation. And apparently the storyboard was actually finished before the script. So instead of the images being made to match the script, the script was made to match the images. So these images are really like what you're coming to see in this movie. That's that experience of these strange visuals, and but they knew generally where the story was going to go when they made the storyboard, because this is an adaptation of a Japanese novel, which I don't think it has ever been translated into English. So if you're Japanese, you can read it, but if you're not, learn Japanese. So yeah, just looking at my notes here. The beginning was the introduction of Captain Konawaka. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Anyways, he's this police chief, and they pretty much introduce this dream, and in this dream, it starts in a circus, which is actually not a circus. It's actually the greatest show on Earth. It's the movie, The Greatest Show on Earth. It's supposed to be that set of the movie, and it just starting off. It's a movie like this in a circus is just the best starting place for a movie like this, because the circus is this embodiment of absurdities, and we pretty much watch circus performances because they appeal to our repressed acerb impulses, which revisit, I guess you can say, in our dreams. And I'm not taking these words out of a hat. This is actually what the director says in the commentary, and I'm gonna read the full quote for you. Actually, I'm actually getting this quote from the beginning of the review on 366 Weird Movies. They use this quote at the beginning, and it's from the commentary, like I said. And this is what the director says during the commentary. I think that within human nature and within the human heart as well, there are a ton of absurd impulses and instincts, but you can't express those things because society has created these rules that say that things can't rap like that. It's a rule that maintains a sense of balance in the world, but when you're restricted like that, you tend to release these impulses within your dreams. Everything raps. I think that in the past you were able to spontaneously experience such things within the framework of reality. I think religious ceremonies would be a good example of that. Now we don't really have that. I think that if someone from prehistoric times saw Paprika, they'd say, that's how it is. I think they'd be confused. Why would you make a movie about such everyday occurrences? I'm not sure about the last part, and how he thinks religious ceremonies kind of are a way of expressing these absurd impulses. I'm not sure what religious ceremonies he's talking about exactly, because the religions of today seem to be exactly the opposite, trying to repress a lot of things. And the only thing I can really think of, maybe he's referring to like some sort of tribal kind of ritual where they dance around the fire. In a nutshell, that's pretty much what Paprika is about. And so let's go back to Dr. Cody, not Dr. Captain. the police guy. I'm just gonna call him the police guy. His dream, and it's a great entering point. Like I said, it's very bizarre, very strange, and pretty much he seems to go through a number of sets in a number of different movies. One is Tarzan. One is the greatest show in the world. As I said, that's a circus scene. One is the Roman holiday, and this throughout the movie, this dream keeps on returning, and it keeps on getting analyzed until the police captain discovers by himself exactly what it means, and he's being chased by himself, and he's chasing himself, and that's another theme of the movie, of really about who you are and identity, and how you have different aspects of yourself, and some of those aspects only exist in dreams. And Paprika, the character Paprika, is actually one of these such aspects of another character, Dr. Chiba. And Paprika's pretty much this more warmer and more flirtatious and innocent version of Dr. Chiba. And there's kind of this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde dynamic, where Paprika's Mr. Hyde, but he's not really evil, he's just absurd, I guess you could say. He is able to be comfortable in this absurdity because he's very comfortable in dreams. He's often referred to as a woman of dreams. And what happens in the movie is that this device which they use to enter into dreams, it gets stolen, and it starts to invade other dreams. And there's this guy, the chief. He starts babbling gibberish and he jumps out a window. And what happens is I didn't notice the first time, but then the second time I was really paying attention to what he was saying, and he was not really talking gibberish. What he was seeing, the dream, the first dream to be absorbed, pretty much. And there's this dream terrorist who stole this DC Mini and is now absorbing these dreams and creating a collective dream. A lot of the imagery in this movie is a tad bit disturbing. There's also a lot of sexual imagery as well, which kind of jars with the tone of the movie. It really felt really like innocent until this very weird scene. It's, if you've watched the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. Which introduces nudity into the movie, and at one point in the movie, Paprika mentions that the internet and dreams are very similar, and at one point of the movie, the police captain actually enters the dream world via a internet site, which is strange. And she says that the internet is like the dream world because it's a place where the repressed conscious mind comes to vent. And I definitely can see that. You see people, I guess I can say, acting in ways that they would never act in real life. These all caps, angry comments, using these harsh words, and they pretty much come to vent. And I found that quite interesting. The movie is also very reminiscent of The Matrix, and it's a lot like The Matrix in that this dream, which keeps on getting absorbed, all these other dreams are being absorbed into one big dream, and it becomes a collective dream, a collective delusion, as they call it. And that's pretty much what The Matrix is. And of course, Paprika is able to go in and out of these dreams using the DC Mini, very reminiscent of the plugging into the Matrix. And of course, like the Matrix, this collective delusion is not seen as a good thing. It's seen as a very bad thing, but the dreams themselves are never really painted in a bad light. It's just this kind of collective dream which is painted in a bad light, which is interesting. And maybe it's not even the collective dream itself which is painted in a bad light, but the fact that there's a master of that dream, the person who stole the DC Mini, and that person is using these dreams for a selfish means. Also, like any movie which deals with reality and what is real, it references the meta, and there's a number of references to the process of making movies. There's actually a reference to the process of making live action film, but it still works in the context of the anime. And at one point, Paprika is a movie, and it's seen, some of the events are seen on a screen within the movie. So now I'm just gonna dive into some spoilery aspects of the movie. But before I do, I just want to give you my consensus, and my consensus is this movie is not to be missed, even if you don't like anime. If you only watch one anime in your life, make it this, and maybe Akira. So without further ado, some discussion of some spoilery topics, starting now. So, the chairman. Um, for the first half of the movie, before the reveal that the chairman is the one who stole the DC Mini, his character kind of seemed half drawn. And we only saw him, I think, in two scenes, and in both scenes, he's talking about how he doesn't like this technology being used for dreams. And it's a it's a valid sentiment, and it's the same sentiment that a lot of people use for a lot of new tech. Because this character wasn't very interesting in the first half of the movie, his reveal in the second half of the movie, it kind of felt a little flat, unfortunately. Though he does make a good villain, he definitely looks quite sinister, as well as his henchman Osani during that very weird scene where he takes Paprika, takes Dr. Chiba out of the Paprika body or whatever. His facial expression is drawn are very disturbing. It's a very disturbing scene. So basically, what this chairman, he was saying that the dreams are horrified by being invaded by this new technology, this DC Mini, and he calls himself the guardian of dreams, and he says he's trying to protect them by putting them in reality, and he calls reality. He describes reality as inhumane and says that this inhumane reality is the only humane refuge for these dreams or something like that. I don't know exactly, and it's very odd to call reality. But when you think inhumane, you think of humans, and I guess you can argue that reality is harsh towards humans, but harsh towards dreams, it doesn't really make sense. But a lot of things in this movie don't really make sense, and kind of found that interesting, how dreams are sacred and you shouldn't merge them with reality. But of course, as said in that commentary, in that quote, apparently reality and dreams were merged once, and the absurdities of dreams were once expressed within reality. So perhaps that merging isn't the bad thing, but it's definitely the bad thing that the chairman, he calls himself the guardian of the dreams, but he's really using these dreams because he seeks freedom in these dreams, because he's moving around in a chair, haha. But in the dreams, he's able to move, and he actually has roots of a tree for feet. And it's kind of ironic because trees don't move in reality, but he does. And later, he actually gets legs. So pretty much, he's seeking this freedom, and at one point, he says that he wants Osani's body. He wants to possess his body, which is very strange, and that's he's the main antagonist, and pretty much why these dreams are the dream is evil. It appears that at the very end, Paprika and her counterpart Dr. Chiba actually make peace and kind of merge into one at the very end, and the police captain actually makes peace with his dream and his other self, who he finds out to be his friend who he used to make movies with when he was 17. I kind of like how the captain's dream it wasn't really important in the whole scope of the movie. It was kind of like a subplot, this little aside here, and it was just a very nice kind of little subplot. It didn't, well, the dream, that his dream also gets absorbed, and he uses that dream to save Dr. Chiba at one point. But I like how his own personal journey is just kind of there on the side. It kind of gives more depth to the movie. So just to wrap things up, the animation is great. I didn't watch it in dubs. I always watch it in subs. Because dubs are usually very bad acting. The music is definitely heightens the experience, and a lot of the music was made with these computer generated voices, which, especially the theme of the parade, was very memorable because of that strange cacophony of sounds. And another piece of the score is this creepy kind of industrial whispery thing that's played during the scene at the amusement park, which reminded me a lot of the Silent Hill amusement park, and the music as well also reminded me of the music in Silent Hill. So